Chainsaw Man, an anime about one boy's quest to fight devils, live a happy life, and touch boobs. Now, I love Chainsaw Man. I've got Chainsaw Man posters, figures, necklaces, t-shirts, plushies, cosplays, and more. This series really means a lot to me. And recently, I realized something. A lot of other trans people also love Chainsaw Man. This dark shonen series that doesn't really have to do anything with the transgender experience at all. Or does it? Today, I'm gonna find out why Chainsaw Man speaks so closely to so many trans people, such as myself. And it all starts with one man, Tatsuki Fujimoto, the creator of Chainsaw Man. Amongst the community, Fujimoto's a sort of menace. He's got all sorts of weird things going on, like when he ate his dead pet fish covered in ants, or when he admitted he was a masochist, or even when it was revealed he runs a Twitter account where he roleplays as his little sister. He doesn't have a little sister. The interesting thing here is that he doesn't really say or do anything gross. He just kind of acts like he's living the life of a little girl. Huh. Interesting. We'll get back to that. Fujimoto started his writing career writing one-shots, short, self-contained manga stories that go back as early as 2011. You can actually read them in physical here, in this cool volume titled Tatsuki Fujimoto Before Chainsaw Man. I think there's 2 of them. While the stories are not all excellent, some of them are pretty interesting, like this one, titled Woke Up as a Girl Syndrome. This story is about a boy physically transformed into a girl with no cure, and how he handles that. It's a take on the typical low-quality gender bender manga stories, and it almost seems to be making fun of the genre in ways. Fujimoto's take is that this would be horrible for the boy, being trapped in a body that he doesn't belong in, being treated differently by his peers, and as a result, feeling differently about himself. Spoilers, he comes to a conclusion that he's still a guy despite his female body. If that's not a story allegory about a transgender man, I don't know what is. But Ghostpop, you may be saying. Does Fujimoto even, know about trans people? Maybe you're looking too into it. We'll get there in just a second. Fujimoto's first shot at making it big as a mangaka was his Shonen Plus series titled Fire Punch, which ran from 2016 to 2018 and was a mild success. Unfortunately, it couldn't really appeal to massive audiences because, well, it's fucked up. Without spoiling too much, the story is about Agni, a man who has the power of regeneration. Towards the beginning of the story, Agni is magically lit on fire by fire that will never extinguish. So he's just on fire all the time. He's not numb, he feels the burning all the time. And that's just the tip of the burning iceberg. Within the series, a character named Togata is introduced. He has a similar regenerative power. However, he's not on fire all the time, but he is a transgender man, canonically, which means that he is forever trapped in a female body with no way to change his appearance. If he were to get surgery, it would just grow back. Fujimoto is literally comparing being on fire all the time to being trans and unable to transition. That's kind of hardcore. So back to the main subject of the video, Chainsaw Man. In the world of Chainsaw Man, there's a lot of shit going down. If you aren't already aware, the basic premise is as follows. The world is infested with devils. Each devil is based on a word, and its power is determined by what humans associate with the word. So a chicken devil wouldn't be that powerful, but what about a chainsaw devil? What about a darkness devil? The story follows a kid named Denji, which Fujimoto has very much used as this sort of stand-in for himself, noting that he would be like Denji and talks like Denji, and even how Denji shares Fujimoto's love of dominant women. In the beginning, Denji is extremely poor and teams up with a cute dog named Pochita to earn money in order to survive. I'm not going to spoil much past here, but again, if you haven't read it or watched it, this series is legitimately incredible. In the world of Chainsaw Man, LGBTQ+ identities are pretty normalized. After all, they got more to worry about than, I don't know, eradicating transgender people. There are subtle things like the angel devil's androgynous appearance, as well as not so subtle things, like a full-page lesbian from panel. Yes. Now, I could sit here and I could talk about trans headcanons or speculate on Aki and Angel's friendship, but I'm not gonna do that. I played out a good summary of the facts and the canon and the general intentions of Fujimoto here, but I want to talk a little bit more about why this series speaks to trans people, such as myself, whether on purpose or not. There are a fucking ton of themes that transgender people, especially youth, can empathize with and relate to, including but not limited to transformation, self-identity and exploration, freedom, acceptance and belonging, overcoming trauma, and of course, betrayal. Almost all of these themes manifest themselves through our main man, Denji, who again is this kind of pseudo stand-in for Fujimoto. Denji begins the series trapped. He's not happy with his accomplishments or really himself. He's become so used to the absolute worst that the slightest things that most people would consider normal are like incredible to him. I think that trans people can kind of relate to that feeling. Most cis people don't spend time thinking so in depth about their gender identity, right? That they don't get this sense of relief or euphoria when their identity is affirmed in even the simplest of ways, like being called their own name. That too is something that Denji goes through. But everyone at first, he's just a dog to be used, manipulated, and taken advantage of, an outcast of society. So yeah, Denji wants to touch some fucking boobs. But really though, to him, that's something like so far out of reach, something that most people will scoff and laugh at. But to him, he's never gotten that acceptance and affirmation from another person, willing to experience intimacy with him without just trying to get something from him. No one even sees him as human, which, like, real. I don't always feel like people treat me as human, and usually in large part because of my transgender identity. Whether it's conservatives and people on the right that view trans people as like inhuman monsters, liberals and corporations that want to use trans people for their own capitalistic gain, we're even locked out of most opportunities and privileges available to the average person. Like, let's say getting a job, going to the fucking bathroom. Again, I don't think this is like a purposeful intention by Fujimoto at all, but regardless of the intentions, a complex, dark, fun series written by a progressive author where LGBTQ people are normalized but not the focus of the story, and one where so many trans people can relate to the characters and their themes. Yeah, that's gonna be popular amongst trans people. And all of that leads us back to Tatsuki Fujimoto. At the time I'm writing this, Chainsaw Man is up to chapter 168. I think the new chapter comes out in like 3 days. I'm kind of excited. Spoilers for the manga, I'll put a timestamp of where to skip to if you want to avoid that. One of the most recent chapters is about a character offering to chop Denji's off. Now, I'm not saying that that is like a trans thing, right? In fact, I think it's pretty horrible. But what is trans is this scene. Denji is in pain, real, genuine pain with himself. He blames his own body, his own sexual urges, and he wants to escape from that strict grasp of the male body on his essence, crying out for help as everyone around him laughs. This is obviously to an extreme. Denji's been through a lot, but that's not the point that Fujimoto's making. I'm not saying that men can't like control themselves or shouldn't be held accountable for, you know, thinking with their dick. But it is absolutely true that testosterone affects the way you think, the way that you express yourself, your needs, your wants, especially for immature, traumatized males that have been through a fucking lot, like Denji. Denji wants to escape from all of that, to be free from any urges, regardless of gender or whatever. He's done with all of it. He wants to be free from all of it. From the original woke up as a girl syndrome, to Fire Punch, and now to Chainsaw Man. Fujimoto is repeatedly using abnormal strategies, especially as it pertains to, you know, the LGBTQ community, to get across the point that he wants to escape both our human biological confines as well as societal restrictions and expectations. He'll often use and experiment with LGBTQ identities as a way to kind of get that point across. I digress. I think these elements of really wanting to be free from yourself, free from your gender expectations, is something that a lot of trans people can really, really relate to as well. And of course, this is just one of the most recent, biggest examples, but others exist too within this own story. Denji wants to be free from that original life. Aki wants to be free of this vendetta that he has against the gun devil, even if he doesn't necessarily know it. That's why Himeno urges him to take easy revenge and escape the violent cycle. Riz wants to be free of being used as a weapon, and she too kind of gets a glimpse of that with Denji before, again, it's all taken away by Makima, the literal control devil that actively works to strip away everyone's freedom. Everyone in the story. She is a fucking menace. And she also represents anti-freedom, the feeling of being trapped, the feeling of suffocating. That, at least to me, is what Makima represents. And it's why she's such a compelling, cruel, and horrifying villain. But in the context of this video, I believe that it's also what drags trans people to the story. Whether it's our own bodies or societal expectations, gender roles, whatever, I think a lot of trans people want to be free from all of that. And I think that connection there is something that really interests me and something I care a lot about as a Chainsaw Man enjoyer and trans person. I think I could go on about this topic for hours, but I'm not really the video essay trans woman, there's probably enough of those. But if you like really wanted me to do a deeper dive on the series for like an hour or something, I could do that. Let me know in the comments. Maybe I will. That's all from Pochita and I today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye now. Goodbye now. Goodbye. I love having little stuffed animals to use as puppets. It worked so well in the Blowhigh video. And now this. It's so cute looking.